everyone, David Victor here, Vice President with the Craviotto Drum Company, and I'm here today for Craviotto 101, the making of a Craviotto solid drum shell. So I hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to explain the differences between a solid shell that we make here at Craviotto and a ply shell, and just go over some of the differences. Craviotto has never worked with plies. All we do is steam bend our drums into solid shells, and I'll go over a little bit about the process and then some of the wood offerings that we use at Craviotto. I hope you enjoy this video. Check out our website, www.craviottodrums.com. We would love to hear from you. So off we go. Everything we do at Craviotto is one ply solid shell. So what that means is we take one single board, we steam bend it into a circle into a solid shell drum. In order to do this, we have a 21-step process, and our process begins at the source, which is a wood mill. And I've thrown a couple videos out on our YouTube channel of me going through some wood at a wood mill. I think Greg, one of our craftsmen, has done the same. We have a very specific set of criteria when we're hand selecting wood. If the wood isn't right at step 1, it's never going to make it to step 21. So we're very particular when we're picking out the wood to use for a Craviotto solid shell drum. This particular board here is maple, and it looks like it's a 14-inch shell cut down very, very strong. Can't bend it. And I like to bring this along to show dealers and customers at trade shows because I can really use it to explain what the process is here at Craviotto drums. So the first thing you'll notice is this cutout here and this taper here at the edge. This is called a scarf joint. What the scarf joint does on a solid shell is it's where the actual shell is going to fold over into itself and kind of hug itself over on this side. So normally this wouldn't be like this. We'd have it all the way over, and the scarf joint would start somewhere over here and kind of fold over. And what that looks like on a finished drum is like this. So when you're buying a solid shell drum, you're going to see a little line coming through the drum there, and that's the scarf joint. That's the finished scarf joint. Of course, this gets glued up, and the reinforcement hoops also get installed and gets glued up there. You can see a little bit of glue residue right there where the ring goes in. And of course, Craviotto reinforcement hoops are also solid shells. So we've always highlighted in our marketing pieces that the Craviotto shell gives you a bell-like projection. It gives you a big warm tone and an increased tuning range because the shell's really allowed to open up and resonate because of the absence of glue. I've shown you where we glue up the shells at the scarf joint and where the reinforcement hoop goes in. So I want you to hear that. I think it'll translate over video. Here we've got a nice solid shell. And here I've got a ply shell. Okay, very different sound. We'll do it also on our wood sample here. I call this my salesman sample because it features a lot of the custom shop woods. Versus my ply sample here. You get a big, warm, open, woody sound, and that translates to a finished product as well. Again, because we are solid shells, what you see on the outside is also what you're going to see on the inside. So scarf joint goes there. This is drilled for the trick throw-off that we use. And your solid shell and your scarf joint is also right there on the inside, even on the re-rings, because these are solid as well, as I mentioned. Everything we do here at Craviotto is solid shell. Take this a step further, I brought in a ply shell that we've sanded down just to show the difference in craftsmanship between a Craviotto solid shell and what other manufacturers use, which is a ply shell. As you can see here, it looks like we have a bunch of plies we've sanded through. Some are laminated and glued together horizontally, vertically, as you can see here. You can see here some where it's joined and glued. And this particular ply shell has reinforcement hoops in it as well, but they're ply, they're not solid. Craviotto uses solid re-rings. These are plied. So you can count the ply here on the shell and then also in the re-ring. So this looks to me like it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is an 8-ply shell with ply rings. So there's just more glue. It's a heavier shell than something like this. Even though this is bigger, this is heavier just because a lot of the glue in there. Here's another ply shell. Looks like it's a piccolo drum, but this is a 10-ply. And you can kind of see how they joined it together there. So you get a lot more projection, warmth, roundness of tone with the solid shell. So let's talk about some other offerings Craviotto has here. We have what we call a 50-50. It's a stacked solid. Why do we call it that? Everything we do is a solid shell, and we stack 2 species on top of each other. This particular drum features our heritage red inlay. On the top here, I've got American ash, and on the bottom I have red birch. I took the hardware off. I thought it would be easier to show you, but we're going to look for that scarf joint. And there it is. Beautiful straight line scarf joint. Same on the inside. This particular drum has maple reinforcement hoops in it. It's a little 10. That sounds fabulous. Something different. Here's an older mahogany shell. And as you can see, this is really darkened and aged to perfection. Took the hardware off again to really show it off. Here's your scarf joint, maple reinforcement hoops, and what you see on the outside is what you're going to see on the inside. Scarf joint on the inside. Nice and low pitched, very warm sounding. Mahogany's our most vintage sounding wood. You get a lot of warmth, kind of a breathy sound to it. Great for the studio, and of course, just absolutely beautiful as well. This salesman sample here features the species we work with most regularly in our custom shop. Custom shop is something that's non-exotic. So we have maple here, genuine mahogany sourced from South America, ash, cherry, and walnut. I also have some of our different inlay options here. We've got maple, we've got cherry, and we have what we call our walnut inlay. And then I can also show dealers 2 different variations of a bearing edge. This is a baseball bat bearing edge, very rounded, similar to what you'd see on like an old Slingerland drum, for example, like a Radio King or some of the WFL Ludwig drums, just a huge rounded edge. And then of course a more modern 45-degree bearing edge. And as you can see here on the side, all solid shell, maple, mahogany, ash, cherry. So let's take a second here and talk about the history of the solid shell. Of course, many Civil War era drums had solid shells. As we get into more modern times where you have snare drums, we see solid shells emerge in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Slingerland had the Artist and the Professional series, had solid shells, mostly made with mahogany and walnut. Of course, Ludwig also used a solid shell in some of their drums, as did Leedy. And I've got a great example of a beautiful Leedy solid shell here today. So here's a mahogany drum with a maple reinforcement hoop and a beautiful rounded edge. Look at that. Incredible drum. Again, just like a Craviotto, nice and light. There's your scarf joint down there where the shell came over. So the solid shell has been around a while. And Johnny Craviotto really, through his drum restoration and collecting, really took an appreciation to that. Developed his first company, which I'll show you a drum now, called Solid. And these drums, of course, used solid shells, hence the name. This particular drum, it's built like a tank, it's really heavy, this is an oak drum from Solid. Just absolutely incredible, look at that. Like a solid shell, everything on the outside is going to be the same on the inside. Built like a tank. Solid wasn't around that long, but the drums certainly have retained their value and have their place in many collections. Just due to their craftsmanship and their sound. Johnny had a great artist roster when he had Solid. It was a really cool company. And of course, from there, we know about DW Craviotto, many drums built over the years there. And of course, that spec was different than this spec. And the Craviotto drums that we make today are to Johnny's spec when he went out on his own in 2004. And of course, Craviotto now is carrying on Johnny's legacy, and we're handcrafting drums to his exacting specifications in Nashville, Tennessee. We're very fortunate to be able to carry that legacy forward and still create drums Johnny's way. It's very exciting for us to continue to do that. And we definitely see that the market appreciates us carrying this tradition forward. So I just want to go through now and just kind of talk about a couple of drums that were featured here in this video. This is a poplar drum. This is something we've been working with since probably 2012 or 13. Absolutely beautiful. It's a nice dark color. What we did is put 2 maple inlay in it. And of course, there's that beautiful scarf joint there. Poplar sounds a lot like mahogany. Nice and light and airy sounding, very warm. My favorite is cherry. I love cherry drums, as many of you know. My first Craviotto kit was a cherry kit. And here we just see a lot of Mother Nature's magic in the shell with the grain, some of the figuring there. This is all natural from cherry, and of course, it's a solid shell. So you're going to see that same variation there on the inside. Now this is an early 2008 drum, but it's absolutely incredible. Very dark. It's getting darker as it ages. Down here we have a beautiful walnut drum, very popular. It's a little bit darker, warmer sounding. It's going to be lower in fundamental than cherry. Cherry is the highest note that Craviotto manufactures. And as we move over here, I brought this out to show the figure. This is just a gorgeous quilted maple here. Just tons of figuring. I mean, there's bird's eye in here. There's huge curly. It looks like a hologram, like it's 3D. What we did here is just applied a very light grayish black stain over it, just to set off some of the character. And as you can see, as I've said many times in this video, what you see on the outside is what you see on the inside, being solid shell. We just didn't stain the inside. And even the re-rings here are quilted maple. Exceptional drum. Of course, Craviotto does not wrap, but we certainly lacquer. And here's a great example of that, 2010, which would have put us at, 10th anniversary, which would have put us at 2013. 2014 rather. So this is a kit we did here in a full dress pattern in 2014 for the 10th anniversary. Gloss black, orange, and red diamonds. Really a beautiful drum. And we're always evolving, always experimenting, seeing what's new, trying new wood species, and this is a great example of that. This is Shedua. It's a newer wood, similar to mahogany, but a little lighter, a little more organic sounding, kind of wispy in a way, grainy sounding. So we're still experimenting and trying new things and trying to find different tonal colors to offer our customers. Nice warmth to it. It's a really beautiful wood. So thank you very much for tuning in today and letting me talk you through the Craviotto solid shell process. We have 21 steps to do it. Everything we do is solid from beginning to end, whether it's a drum set or a snare drum, concert toms, and we appreciate you listening and hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, craviottosales@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Check out the website, craviottodrums.com, and as always, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.